order to explain all of this to people who are not that accustomed to even thinking in vibrational terms, we've fashioned this analogy of this vortex version of you. And we've been saying to you, we wrote a whole book about it, get in the vortex, and then apply your effort or your thought or your vocabulary to something. Today we're taking that vortex version into something that's easier for you to understand by reminding you that there is this high-flying vortex version of all that you want, but there's also a vortex version of what you don't want. Because every time you give thought to anything, you send a vibration that precedes the actuality of it into motion. So there are all kinds of probabilities that you've set into motion. Successful ones, unsuccessful ones, happy ones, unhappy ones. In other words, you've been creating a lot of realities that you're not yet living because you've been sifting through life and you've been setting a lot of things into motion. We've been saying to you for a number of years that before anything comes into manifestation, that there is a vibrational version of it. And some of you have been thinking about that vibrational version. We don't want you to consider too much this vibrational buffet. We want you to trust that all things are possible, and then we want you to tune your frequency to the one that will yield you the things that you want. So just for sake of explanation, we'd like to say to you that there are many potential grids, spinning vibrational grids, that you could be choosing in any moment in time. You could wake up discouraged, and if you think about why you're discouraged and talk to even one person about it, you can get momentum of discouragement going, and that's your grid. And we don't want to upset you ever, but we do want to tell you how it is. That grid that you establish first thing in the day is most likely the grid that you will keep going mostly through the day, because momentum, which is perpetuated by law of attraction, says that it is most likely. We've been telling you a story for a while. It's a story really that we get from you, because sometimes it sounds to us as if you are saying, Abraham, I have fallen out of an airplane and I do not have a parachute. What do you suggest that I now do? And we like to say to you under those conditions, hang on, it'll be over in a little bit. Because there's not much that you are likely to do that's going to change that momentum. You get the sense of what we're talking about. And in like manner, sometimes you get momentum established that while it is not that critical, it's likely that nothing that you're going to do in terms of action or conversation, you're not going to talk yourself out of negative momentum. Sometimes you say, well, I want closure. Or sometimes you say, well, I just want to get to the bottom of it. And we say, there's no bottom. You cannot get to the bottom of negative momentum, because attention to a subject only perpetuates it. It's only going to spin faster. It's only going to spin more. There's only going to be more momentum, and it's only going to then accomplish a wider sweep to sweep more stuff in and bring it right to you. Don't you know that? Haven't you ever been in the middle of a conversation? It's better if you find yourself at the beginning of it, but haven't you ever been in the middle of a conversation and you know that there's no way out of it? You know you're going to crash and burn before it's over, because you can't stop the momentum. Now, this may sound odd to you coming from us, who has written book after book after book, with process after process after process, all with the intent of helping you slow that momentum. But we want to say to you that while you could pivot, you got to do it early before the momentum really gets strong. While you could find a better feeling thought, you got to do it early before the momentum gets too strong. And really, what we are saying to you today is, if you will just be aware of what momentum is, and once momentum gets going, we like to describe to you, and we know you get this, you're standing at the top of the hill with your car, you're in San Francisco, a really good hill going all the way down into the bay, and your car is perched right on the crest of the hill, and it has no parking brake set, and the car is in neutral, and just for fun, you decide you're just going to nudge your car just a little bit, just to see what happens, and it begins to move ever so slowly at first, and then you remember you really like this car. And you also remember that you don't really want any negative repercussion from your car barreling down the hill. And so before it really gets going, you just step out right in front of it and you let it bump up against you, and it stops. All is well. you wouldn't want to be at the bottom of the hill trying to stop that momentum, would you? So you understand that once momentum gets going, it gets more speed, it has more force, it collects more of everything that moves along with it. And so we want you to let the cornerstone of this discussion today be around the subject of momentum, because law of attraction is the momentum perpetuator. Law of attraction will gather momentum to whatever you give your attention to. When you find a thought and you focus upon it, and you stay focused upon that thought for as little as 17 seconds, momentum ensues, because another thought like it joins it. And then another thought like it joins it. Another 17 seconds, another 17 seconds. By the time you've done that 4 times and you cross that 68-second mark, you've got significant enough momentum going that you pretty much have to take a nap in order to stop that momentum. So when we say to you, it's a good idea to get out ahead of manifestation, what we're really talking about is deciding how you want to feel first, earlier in the day. It's like seeing those discs stacked up, those spinning discs: depression, fear, anger, frustration, overwhelmment, hopefulness, eagerness, passion, love. And if you could just see them stacked up, and early in the day, before any other momentum has been established within you, decide that you want to jump on this disc, and jump on that high-flying disc, and set forth a thought, a pure thought that has no resistance in it. You'll have to feel around till you find them, because it really is a personal thing. If you can maintain that thought for as little as 17 seconds, it is our promise to you, momentum will take you from there. And another 17, and another 17. If you can pick your disc early in the day, then you have a very good chance this day of making it through breakfast. Feeling better. Now, you might not make it all the way to breakfast. You might not make it all the way through breakfast, because the fact of it is you've got other momentums going, and there are trigger points all around your life that are going to activate them. But if every morning for just a little while you wake up intent on finding that good feeling disc and managing to accomplish it, and then allowing that momentum to ensue, what you're going to begin to discover is the momentum on those other discs will peter out, because the only thing that keeps them spinning, it really is like that plate spinning act where the genius throws the plates up into the air and keeps them going, and he keeps them going, and he keeps them going. Have you seen him? He runs down there and keeps that going, and he runs down there and keeps that going. It's only his attention to them that keeps them going. And the same is true of your discs. It's only your attention to them that keeps them going. And there are a whole lot of discs on your spinning disc act that you would be well to let go for lack of attention. Just let them fall from your experience, and just keep the ones going that you want to keep going, because you have a vortex version of so many wonderful things. And as you accomplish a vibrational pattern or habit that equals them, then all kinds of manifestations, starting with a great idea. A great idea is a manifestation. An impulse is a manifestation. That feeling to go into that restaurant, and then a conscious thought, no, that's not the right one for me. And then the feeling being there stronger. Those are impulses. Those are inspirations. That is momentum that is offered from your broader perspective, that when you are in the vicinity of them, in time, if you play this game just a little while of selecting your disc early on, you'll begin to notice that all things that matter to you will begin flowing into your experience in a much more satisfying and fulfilling way. So then, Abraham, what do we do with all of those other processes? What's the point? Should I be trying at all? And we say, if you will just let your dominant intent for a little while be, I'm going to do everything I can to allow good feeling momentum to increase, and everything I can to let the not good feeling momentum dissipate. In other words, just don't continue to throw gasoline on the fires that you don't want to keep going. You're going to discover that all of this business of understanding vibration, of understanding the law of attraction, of being the point of attraction that you want to be, and of creating your reality in the way you mean to, is so much easier than it has ever been for you before. We're eager to talk with you about anything that matters. It's all good. Where do you want to begin? On the aisle right here.
Thank you so much. I want to first just acknowledge Esther in this process. I acknowledge Jerry and Abraham, of course, and thank you, but I'm really appreciative for Esther and her Esterness. And
she has a vocabulary that makes it possible for us to communicate, and a willingness to choose a disc that makes it possible for us to communicate.
Absolutely. Thank you. About a year ago, I was in the hot seat, and I had asked a question with regard to individuals that choose to kind of hold themselves out of vibrational alignment with who they really are. And in part of the response to me, you all had said something to the effect of, that when one lines up, that's the difference between genius and mediocrity. And
so your question was about people who sometimes do choose to be out of alignment?
Yes. In other words, people acknowledge the emotional grid and the scale.
So let's just talk about that really briefly in terms of the momentum that we were just talking about. Because no one says, I think I'm going to be miserable today. Let's see, of all the discs that I could choose, I choose wretchedness today. Yep, that's about right for me. No one does that.
Right.
But momentum narrows their choices. In other words, if that's where you've been vibrating, that's your choice. So it's like, I'm not consciously choosing it. I've vibrationally chosen it. So I feel like I have no conscious choice. No one means to choose it. They just do, out of habit, out of momentum.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you. In the explanation last year, you'd given a description of saying that when we align up with that which we are, that's the difference between genius and mediocrity. And
the leverage of alignment is indescribable. It really is the energy that creates worlds. And so while you can't even comprehend it, you can sure feel the difference between hooking into some of that and not. That's what elation feels like. That's what passion feels like. That's what love and appreciation feels like. That absence of resistance.
What is Source's definition of genius in broadest sense?
Alignment with deliberate choice.
Alignment with deliberate choice.
Because you're aligning with choices all over the place. And there are people that are geniuses at poverty.
Got it.
There are people who are geniuses at fear. In other words, it's just a really fast momentum. But the fastest of momentums is that energy that has little or no resistance. And so we really want to give that label to that high-flying frequency that is non-resistant. But we want to introduce to that definition deliberate, because there are a lot of creations that happen by default. But if you can't replicate it or do it on purpose, then it is not the genius that we would mean if we were wanting to find it.
Got it. Thank you.
Accomplishment of a vibrational frequency with deliberate intent, understanding the full ramifications of it. That's genius.
Thank you. That's very clear.